Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Town of Cedar Lake Board of Zoning Appeals public meeting for February 11, 2021. Would you all please rise to the pledge of the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Here. Jerry Wilson, absent. John Kapoor.
Present.
Jeremy Piper.
Present.
Jeff Bundy.
Present.
David Austin.
Present.
Tim Kubiak. Here. Michelle Baker. Here. Amy Felder here. And Terry Knowles here.
Thank you. Okay, reading the minutes from January 14, 2021. Are there any additions or corrections?
No.
Sarah?
I'll make a motion that we accept. I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Kapir, second by Mr. Bundy to approve January 14 minutes. Roll call.
Andrew Kupro.
Yes.
John Kapoor.
Yes.
Jeff Bundy.
Yes.
Jeremy Piper.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Minutes approved. Old business, item number 1. Steve Sikorovich, 3235 Sarah Court, Unit 1 in Highland, the vicinity of 13930 Lowerman Street, Cedar Lake. Special use variance is to allow the petitioner to have a multi-family residence with a B1 medical office in R2 zoning district. Counselor.
Is this a continuance?
Yes.
The legals were in order for the public hearing last month, so the public hearing may be continued.
Next to the petitioner. Name and address, please, for the record.
Steve Sikorovich, 3235 Sarah Court, Apartment 1A, Highland, Indiana, 462.
And as I recall last time, requested referral so we can get with the town and some contractors about updating the resident portion of the building. So
Sure.
excited to hear about
Sure. So we had a meeting with Tim, and we brought in an architect, and he's here with us today, who has detailed plans about the building. And I've also hired a contractor who is updating all of the electric in the building, as well as the fire alarms. And we had a meeting with the buildings department about 2 weeks ago, where all the items have been enumerated and they're currently underway. And we have provided more details. This is kind of where.
I'm talking to him, CSA architect. He called me to ask me to help him through this process and eventually develop some construction documents for the improvements that he's planning to make into the structure. After meeting with the town officials, Rick Everly pointed out that the previous use before the current variance was exactly what they're proposing to put it back into. It was an office and 4 residents. So since then, there was another variance granted, from what we understand, to allow for a dance studio occupancy, which is actually an assembly occupancy, which is, and we're trying to put it back into the original use, which is a medical office or an office building, which is a less restrictive use and more safe than what the current previous use was. So I think everybody at the meeting was in agreement that it's a better situation than what it is now. And then we also agreed, or Steve also agreed, that all of the issues that Tim brought up during our meeting, the inefficiencies or deficiencies in the existing construction, correct? And that's what the next phase of our process would be.
I'll ask Mr. Kubiak to comment.
Yeah, exactly like I said, I mean, they're on the right track now. I mean, he understands he's already got bids and the proposal for the electrical repairs. And obviously, as you can see what they brought in today, with the layout and the plans. And, this is what we wanted to see moving forward. That it wasn't going to be a Band-Aid to try to, cut out half of the window and make a wheelchair entrance. You know what I mean? So they have intentions of fixing it up properly, and that's what we we were out for.
Everything will be up to.
I mean,
current.
it'll be, I mean, there's some, I mean, it's not gonna be 100%, like it was new, but obviously they're gonna bring everything into today's standards and safety wise. And the apartments will have ingress, egress, smoke alarms, proper electrical services, and then also the medical office will have, ADA bathroom and the proper entrance, ADA entrance in the parking lot and all that stuff.
So you and your department were satisfied with.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
current-
what they brought in and, with the architect and what they brought in for the electrical, schools and work and those things are definitely heading in the right direction. So, I mean, any approvals, I just make contingent on following through with their current plans, you can see what they're bringing in and making sure that they get those documents to obtain the permit and, move forward. So,
What was your guys' timeline?
Pretty much, we're doing pretty much in the next month to 2 months, we plan on finishing all the updates to the building. And then then we're gonna proceed with, putting in the medical office.
So you wouldn't be doing the medical office until the improvements to the residents
Yes.
were completed, and then it's your office space. as you go. All I gotta do is say it. Okay, is there any other board discussion?
Was there any discussion, or are you happy with any parking plan, like drainage or lighting plan that they have?
We didn't really require, I mean, they have adequate parking spaces for their current use, so there is no updating. I mean, it's paved, there's stripes, but there's no requirement. I mean, since it's an existing building, I mean, there's nothing, there was nothing presented as far, I mean, they have the existing parking lot, they have no parking light. So
Okay,
I don't know what their hours of operation tend to be for the medical office as of yet, but
okay.
we haven't
All that-
got to anywhere into that point. I mean, we've been focusing on.
There was something about
Okay.
operations.
I think the idea is something this process and then we would inform on developing all the improvements. for the satisfaction.
So we have a say in that too, that's why. I
Okay.
asked.
So, Mr. Chairman, is there a list of conditions, commitments, terms that go with this? This is different than what we heard the last time. There's more. You have staff comments, but I look at the summary and I don't see a lot in terms of what the nature of the use is in combination of business zoning with residential apartment. Essentially a small apartment complex.
There's 4 existing apartments and the new use for the part of the dance area would be an office, a small office. The rest of the building will remain vacant. That's not used as residential or the office. Because it's under the residential area.
So
And that's shown on the drawing.
And those are all things
They
that
have.
the commissioners are asking about, or the board members are asking about, the conditions and the commitments, the terms, the recommendation to the town council. Ultimately, the town council gets this here in a short amount of time.
That's what we've indicated on the floor plan that we submitted.
So we can rise and fall on the floor plan. You all good with that? I guess. it's the
I
next
believe
one.
that you discussed the hours of operation and stuff, how many patients at the last meeting. Do you want to maybe update that for everybody?
Yeah, that, I do recall that was their business plan was submitted and updated for our last meeting, but yes, please, if you could review that.
As during the last meeting, our medical practice is primarily a telemedicine operation, so probably about 50 to 75% of the patient visits are going to be done online, not requiring any office space at all. However, there's going to be about 25 to 30% of the visits where we would be required to see a patient in-house, and that is when we would make appointments. Appointments would be made between the hours of 8 AM and 7 PM. There wouldn't be any appointments made after 7 PM, before 8 AM.
Monday through Friday or?
Monday through Friday, sometimes maybe on Saturday, but again, the appointments, we would not have more than 8 to 10 patients a day. That would be like tops. But I actually anticipate that being a lot less because the nature of the telemedicine business. Of course, it'll vary from week to week depending on, the demand, but it would not be more. It would not be a heavy
By
use.
appointment only, so you're not gonna have 8 people lined up.
Exactly. We would not have, we would make sure that we adhere very strictly to the criteria of we're only gonna have 2 waiting room seats. We'll have no more than 2 people waiting in the waiting room at one time.
You have the proposed signage.
The sign is gonna be right over, I actually didn't go over it last time. It's just gonna be, there's the Hanover sign and our names are gonna be right under that sign. They're not gonna be any bigger than what is already there.
Yeah,
And parking for your patients and your staff will be where?
There's going to be a handicap parking in the kind of right at the first parking lot, and then the first row, the parking lot is going to be dedicated to the business, and the back of the parking lot is dedicated to the second row of the parking lot is dedicated to the tenant.
And those will be labeled as such.
Yes.
Patient parking only.
It's going to be a sign.
how many occupants for those residential units do you intend to have in each unit? Are they a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom? What's?
There are 2 3-bedrooms, 1 2-bedroom, and 1 1-bedroom.
So there's 3 rentals,
4 rentals.
4 rentals plus your office
Yes.
space.
So a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and a 1-bed, or 2 3-bedrooms, a 2-bedroom, and a
2-bedroom. Each occupant will have no more than 2 parking.
How many parking spaces do you have overall?
Over 17.
And do you intend to accept any deliveries for office supplies, medical supplies?
We're gonna try to kind of run a very low-key operation, kind of focusing more on wellness. And we're not gonna have a lab on site or an X-ray. It's not gonna be like an urgent care center. It's gonna be more like a very small private office.
Okay. So no, you don't expect any delivery trucks to be running
No.
around?
I mean, other than the UPS,
Right. Okay.
The outside exterior, I mean, there's some, like the soft that I'm looking at here is all rotten and falling down, all that's gonna be upgraded. and
Absolutely,
The building's gonna be painted,
absolutely.
or everything will be upgraded.
Everything.
All right, getting back to David's question there, a list. Do you have a list, or does the building department have a list of what is required of you? I mean, like upgrade the electrical, upgrade any parking lot. Do we have a list that we can look at and see that, we're gonna upgrade the soffits, we're gonna paint the building, we're gonna yada, yada, clean up the brush or whatever?
All we had was discussions with Tim, and we're trying to get through this process, dialing all of that detail. I think the owner and Tim have agreed that, a lot of improvements are necessary there.
We have stressed to them, I mean, in order for him to get a permit to make these corrections, all that had to be included in the scope of work. I mean, the yard cleanup, the ingress, egress, the siding, the soffit, the windows, I mean, that is the direction. As far as the detailed list, I mean, that was how it was presented to them, that they need to bring up the smoke detectors, the ingress, egress, the exterior, the entrance, all those things. So
Well,
clean up
I think
the garage, get everything up to, cleaned up. So that's gonna be a part of it. We do not have a detailed list as of, I mean, I don't know what anybody wants on the detailed list, or if you would like a specific work, but again, until they have an approval pay him to come up with the rest of the plans, they want to know that they can move forward with.
Well,
that.
somewhere down the road, I would like something into the records showing that this is what you're obligated to do if we approve this. And that's all I'm looking at, you know.
I'm hearing you and I'm thinking, what we're looking at is any recommendation would be contingent on, building department acceptance of the building improvements. Or bringing it up to code or whatever. Because I get Tim's point, they're not gonna go through with repairing everything until they know that they can put their.
And I agree with that. Yeah, I don't have a
We do
problem.
have, I do have the proposals for all the electrical and stuff.
I mean, we did
all
go
the
through
upgrades.
and tell them our expectations, but we did not compile a list of those expectations, I guess, for you guys, which in hindsight would have been a good idea. When we sat down and met, we discussed, all of those items, but we don't have a formal, we don't have anything.
Is that something we really need?
That's up to you, but, this is a variance of use. It is a change of use of the property, if you will, by zoning district classification, permitted or not. And this was the problem we had last time. I just sitting here listening to it all, it's vague and it's ambiguous. I think we have an idea what you want to do because you've shown us pictures. But the conditions of occupancy and use, and it's a mixed use. The multifamily or rental housing and a medical facility and a very unique medical facility. I've never heard of medical like this before. It's your world, it's not mine. So I get it, but telemedicine, I think you said, that's what you call it, telemedicine.
I think it
We've
wind
never
up being a
experienced
good-
it. We've
being a
never
good-
experienced that here before.
I think it wind up being a good use for that building,
Could be.
so I don't have a problem with that, but I just want something in the record or want somebody to have control over seeing them get through to the finish line, So I don't know, I would kind of like to live.
Doesn't the building official have control over occupancy permits until he's satisfied with the improvement?
He doesn't have control of the Board of Zoning Appeals or the town council that makes the decision about whether the use is going to be permitted or not.
I understand that.
That's, so they have, as was mentioned up here, they have a way in. And so,
If
and
you
Bob,
guys-
so do you and your council, you have a way in.
If you guys go back to your previous months, if you can do that whole list of what they want to do and all of that stuff
Well,
is on. here.
I thought we deferred this because so they can get with you guys to get a better plan.
For the
But could
upgrade.
yeah, because it seemed like the last meeting, they were kind of blindsided a little bit by what we were expecting.
As far as
Improvements to like all the stuff that you were talking about last month, Tim. So.
Right, and you see that they brought in the visual, the preliminary plans of the layout of the building, and that was kind of what I was asking, how you would have some separation between the business and the apartments, and that's, they drew out their concept plan of basically how they plan on achieving the 4 units, and then also the separation, since they would be behind the medical building, above the living space of the tenants is not above the medical facility for fire separation, right? That's what they kind of showed how they tentatively, how their plans are going to progress to do that. But that's, and it also in that meeting, we brought up, the exterior, the brush, the weeds, the electrical, the smoke detectors, the ingress, egress. That they were on board with all of that, so.
Okay. So the-
Again, I don't know, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, I get it, I know what you guys are saying, that where is that plan, where is that list of what's going to be done?
Mhm. So that the vacant unit is on the first floor? Yeah. There's gonna be a vacant area, right? And that's on the first floor? I'm just having a hard time seeing it because the drawings I got on here, just because it's on an iPad, are not very clear.
Orange.
The orange area.
Does he sell?
Yeah. No, if I can take a peek. Thanks.
Currently, the building has been unoccupied for a number of months, right?
No, the building currently has.
No, the business, the
Oh,
dance.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
it's my
they've been gone-
understanding from
they've been
the
gone over a
assessor's
year.
office, after it's closed for 6 months, we lose property tax. And it's a business, so it'll be a 3% property tax, and the rentals give us a 2%, correct?
Theoretically. There's a little sausage in the making here, Bob, with the old Hanover house. Yeah.
I don't recall, but did the Vecchios come in and get a variance when they proposed the dance studio?
Yeah.
So many years ago?
Yes.
They had, it's, okay.
And I think didn't Rick point out that prior to that, the previous use was approved on variance for an office, or office use, for the commercial. Yeah. And then it went to the dance studio, which is more restrictive of occupancy actually. And now we're reverting back to the original, office use.
I don't have any problem with what they want to do or what they want to revert back to. I don't have any problem with any of that. I just want to make sure that they're going to bring it up to the ordinances and that, and some kind of a guarantee for us up here to hang our hat on. That's all. But the rest of that, I have no problem with what they want to do. In other words, that's an unofficial okay.
So how are we gonna get there, I guess is the question. Or how are you gonna get there? What will satisfy your,
What'll satisfy me is if the other board members are satisfied with what's on hand. And then, if they feel comfortable without that list being present in a written form, then I'll go along with them. I mean,
I'll just say that our professional reputation depends on the building. A patient's not gonna come into the building that looks like, windows boarded up or anything that.
oh, sure, I understand that.
Yeah. So it's in our best interest to bring the building up to look nice so that so we can attract patients.
Unfortunately, that statement right there brings up for me the fence along Klein Avenue. Or Klein Avenue. And the last guy that's up there, that same comment he did, it would be nice.
Oh.
I mean, that's the bad thing about not having anything, that will stand. Again, I mean, their plans, they can't get occupancy for the building until that stuff is finished. Your guys' level of expectations for the building being repaired, I mean, we're waiting for plans to, see exactly their plan. But until they have those, they can't obtain a permit to do this job. They need to have contractors, they already got estimates to do the electrical portion of it, but actually electric services and stuff that are bad, I mean, found that out and he got somebody, within a week, he had that back here to show that.
yeah, I mean, the petitioners demonstrated that. We went and talked with you guys and
But the details are pretty much a conceptual drawing at this point in time.
And then, in my opinion, the check and balance is the building department because of the occupancy. If it's not right, if it's not up to code, you're not gonna be able to do it. Am I oversimplifying that? Or,
No, I like simple.
just to keep this item moving, I'll ask you guys to have a seat for a brief moment. And see if are there any demonstrators for or against this variance? Are there any demonstrators for or against this variance? Baker, has already been submitted online. Seeing or hearing none, the public portion of this item is closed. And you guys have it back up. And any other building department comments, final thoughts?
I mean, like I said, I mean, Nick brought up the parking lot lighting in the parking lot. I mean, that aspect of, you know, of turning this into the requirements of a brand new building, I don't know. I mean, I feel that there is paved adequate parking, you know, there's those 16 spots for his current use of that current building, and the improvements that he's making are bringing him up to today's standards. And it's, I mean, that's a rough customer right now. It needs quite a bit of work, and they're taking the right steps to do it as far as we've seen. I mean, like I said, they brought in quite a substantial amount, and I get that they're conceptual and they're not detailed construction drawings, but it's a pretty good effort to show the direction that they're heading, I believe. I mean, that could be wrong, but I know that until they have those detailed drawings, they're not getting a permit to do it. I can guarantee you that. So,
And in these other documents with the business layout and things like that will also be, you know, part of.
Were there, I know you submitted more, but from last month's, has anything changed in your submittal from last month as far as your office layout, your space, your signage? Because you had that laid out pretty detailed. Did anything change with that
No, not at all. We just added all the additional detail that by bringing it on.
for the residential portions and outside improvements, electrical improvements?
The original floor plan that he may have submitted may not have had the whole office space identified. So it was recommended that we just include the whole office space, like the back part of the office, like a break room area. That may be the only difference. If that's on, we're going to do that. And they are going to do it.
Thank you. I think it's greatly something that's going to improve a building in town that's been there for a while. That Grant needs it desperately. And so far as I'm aware, have done everything we've asked to move that forward. That's my thought.
And the building has the structural integrity to handle a major overhaul like this?
yeah, surprisingly, I mean, there's a lot of exterior. I mean, I haven't done a full blown inspection of the building. It's barely, I mean, there's been a new roof put on it, and the back stairway and the back little porch areas back there are pretty rough. But as far as the main part of the building, it seems to be, you know, pretty good. There's a lot of electrical work that needs to be done, which, like I said, we brought that to his attention, and within the 4 or 5 days, he brought in a proposal for it to get the electrical fit upgraded and repaired and good. So,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't. You know, I'm not a seen anything opened up or looked into. You know, actually, that aspect. I'm sure that will come.
Okay. And the vacant space on the first floor, is that going to be another office use possibly in the future?
If we grow, and maybe again, right now, I'm just thought we are a startup, so we're trying to get this off the ground, and later on, if at some point that's a possibility, but not anywhere near, not in the next year or 2 or even 3 years.
Okay. So that space may be an expansion of your business, or would it be a freestanding business besides yours?
I don't think that building can house 2 businesses. I think one
Well,
business.
that's
Will
the
you come see
clarification.
us if you need to use that space?
Absolutely, yeah,
That's what we're getting at.
sure, absolutely.
So this for Mr. Austin, this is not a rezone. This will continue to stay R2. We would be giving them approval to operate something that's not allowed in R2 in an R2. That's the bottom line. So this would stay with the petitioner.
That's exactly right.
Okay, now,
It's basically an existing non-conforming use that we're adding another non-conforming use to, correct? With it being the apartment building, the
I'm not certain
multifamily?
about that, because I don't know the time periods of abandonment of the previous owner and whether that caused a reversion or not. But theoretically, it could be.
Now, can I just, in case a motion's made here, can I pin down, I know this is telemedicine, but what exactly are you practicing?
Sure, well, maybe I confuse people by the concept of telemedicine. Telemedicine is something that I can practice from my home, from my own laptop. It does not need an office space. I don't need to be in an office space to practice it. And what the building is going to come into play is when we need to see patients like in a traditional family practice office when you go and you see your doctor.
We're family medicine,
Family. Okay.
so, lately patients have, a lot of offices have been trying to decrease the amount of patients that are coming in person, decrease COVID risk. So they're seeing them via telemedicine. So they're having hypertension appointments. So people are telling them about high blood pressure and they're adjusting their medications online. Something simple, a cold, being able to treat a cold over telemedicine. So you can treat basic things without seeing people in person to decrease disease transmission risk.
Okay,
So basic primary care.
okay. Thank you.
Any other board discussion? Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I'm just, I got the same concerns as John does. I just feel like, my opinion is there's no better time than the present to pin down some things, clean up some things, when this stuff is presented to us. So I'm kind of throwing this on the building department and just hoping that they, the list that they got is sufficient for them, is going to be sufficient for us without seeing it. I was kind of hoping to get that list because I think that was kind of part of the reason for the deferral, to figure out what was going to be required, and we would get a report back to us as far as what's going to get done exactly, and it's been kind of vague. The use itself, I'm okay with. It's making sure that some of these loose ends are tied up and some improvements are made.
I guess to answer that, Nick, I know in the last meeting, I was under the impression that, like, you guys were interested in seeing the 4 apartment buildings and the office space used. Like, that was kind of what you were asking for, is how are you gonna have 4 apartments in this building and the office use
Yeah,
and the parking use? So that was, I guess, my misunderstanding. I thought that was kind of more of what you guys were after as the zone, to see how that was gonna work. And that's why they brought in what they brought in to show, the different color areas where each place was and how that was gonna function. So
okay.
I guess that was how I interpreted what you guys were asking for at the last meeting. I didn't think you wanted a full-blown architectural, whatever list of exact materials and exterior finish or whatever. I just thought it was, how are these 5 things gonna function in this building with the separation in and out and that thing. So that was my bad, I guess.
No,
That's how I interpreted what you guys were asking for at that last meeting.
Tim, they haven't asked for a full-blown architectural list of anything. They want to know what this petitioner proposes to do with this property and what the business model is. But, I mean, that hyper stuff, you'll deal with in your building commissioner, This is, what are they going to do to convince us to permit them to use this property, which is not zoned for this use, accordingly? And that's, I think, at least that I'm sitting here hearing it, and that there's a difference in those things.
So
The construction, like the business
No.
or the building?
use.
It's the use, the business is the use. The building, he's gonna make sure it's not rotten, he's not gonna step through the floor, he's gonna make sure the electrical's up to code. That happens in an inspection.
Oh, I thought that's what Nick
process.
wanted, was more of a list of the upgrades to the building.
He wants to know what they propose and why they should have an approval from the recommendation of the BZA and an approval of the town council. The things that it sounds like you talked about in some part in the meeting we had, but it's not documented here for appendage to the action motion that might occur.
And he, I don't have the boiler proposal. I do have all the electrical proposals here.
And the electricity has to be right and up to code for occupancy. That's for the building permit.
Absolutely.
That comes with that permit, not with the variance of use.
I mean, I think we're saying the same thing. I'm hearing that everybody's fairly okay with the use. We wanted to make sure that improvements happen to the building. We wanted to see the layout, how the parking would work, what their business entails. I trust the building department will do their part and making sure that occupancy is only given at such a time the code is satisfied. Again, we can oversimplify it, but we need to decide or give a recommendation to see if we're okay with that use.
All right, for use, we understand it for use, you want 4 apartments and a medical office that's gonna have some inpatient customers and virtual online customers. And the virtual online would be something like a follow-up after you gave me some blood pressure medicine. See me in 2 weeks and see how it's doing. You're not gonna give me a shot online.
No,
Okay, I was gonna,
no
you know how to
vaccine.
do that.
We're not
to
gonna
me.
give the COVID vaccine. We're not a COVID center.
All right, with that said, I think I want to make
Their recommendation.
a recommendation. I would make a favorable recommendation for petitioner to have a multifamily residence with the B1 and medical office in an R2 zoning district with limited in-house patients. And this be contingent on meeting all the town codes and ordinances to allow occupancy. Yes,
You're looking at about 600 square feet of office space.
yeah.
So if you want to make that, I mean, that's what they're
Specific.
proposing.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that kind of alleviates that space that was brought up earlier. I mean, their proposed area is about 600.
600, okay.
So that kind of limits it to that 600 feet of. Just so there's some, I mean, that's a parameter of that much of that
That's
space.
good. I'd like to, yeah. And the medical office space shall not exceed 600 square feet. Per finding of fact.
Is it possible that we can add something to it, or I can have you consider adding something to it?
What do you mean?
Well, the hours of operation and the fact that it's strictly family medicine, primary care, would you entertain putting that in your motion?
Well, sure, it is family medicine, so yes, that wouldn't hurt the motion any. And hours of operation, we always include that, so. Yeah, so, as part of that motion, we're gonna have hours of operation between 8 in the morning to 7 at night, 5 days a week, and occasionally on a Saturday, no Sundays. And it's a family medical practice, correct?
Correct.
A lot of people would like to see a doctor before work. Is it okay to see them on the telemedicine practice side before 8?
Oh, yeah, we're just talking about what you do in the building. I mean, if you're sitting at your kitchen table and you want to go online, yeah, it could be midnight. I don't.
Or if you're, I mean, I don't see how we could, if your hours of operation for on-site.
Right.
would be 8 to 7. But if you folks need to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning to talk to somebody, or if you have to be there at, whatever time, you have to be there until 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night to talk to somebody on the West Coast, theoretically, I don't know how far your reach could be, but yeah, we're talking hours of operation.
I want to hear Jeremy recap this.
Are you done with your motion?
I mean, I would presume, I guess I'm not, I guess I shouldn't be putting words in your mouth either, John, but
No, I understand, and basic motion is there. And, yeah, I'm ready for a recap.
including findings of fact.
I just said that.
Okay, I did not hear that.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, here we go. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Kapira, second by Mr. Cupido, and a favorable recommendation to town council for a special use variance to allow the petitioner to have a multifamily residence with a B1 medical office and an R2 zoning. To include the hours of 8 AM to 7 PM Monday through Saturday by appointment only, to maintain a family practice, to maintain like building improvements as shown and discussed, and occupancy to only be with occupancy for the building departments and our town ordinances. And the office space being 600 square foot for the drawings, and to include the findings of fact. Hearing the motion, is there any questions, comments, or concerns? Any discussion? You guys understand the motion?
Which drawings, Jim? The ones we got tonight?
Submitted today and last month. Any questions?
No.
Any discussion on the motion or second? Roll call.
Mr. Cupido,
Yes.
Dr.
Yes,
Jeff Lundy,
Yes,
Jerry Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 4-0 in favor of favorable recommendation. That means you guys got to go to the town council meeting. You'll be on the agenda for the town council meeting. They'll have the final word.
Yeah, we're closed Monday.
New business, item number 2, Hanover High School Developmental Variance. Owner petitioner, Hanover Community School Corporation, 10120 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, in the vicinity of 10120 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to install 6-foot vinyl coated chain link fence in the front yard along new parking lots and around the sports practice fields, and to allow 6-foot high ornamental architectural fencing in a front yard parallel to 133rd Avenue, directly north of the sidewalk along the practice fields. Counselor. Legals in order. Thank you. We have a petitioner.
Good evening. My name is Don Toringa. I'm with Toringa Engineering, 907 Ridge Road, Munster, Indiana. I also have Jim Majewski as the architect for the project, JMA Architects. We're here this evening representing the Hanover School Corporation for what was read, the ornamental fencing and the 6-foot high chain link black clad fencing. What I have passed out to everyone is 5 sheets. The first sheet, which is the colorized sheet, is a rendering of what the ornamental fencing along 133rd will look like. So that's just a reference sheet. If you go to the second sheet, this is an overall drawing of what is being proposed at the high school. What we are particularly talking about this evening is on the left side of the drawing in the AB. If you see that at the top of the page, the AB area. There's a proposed parking lot. There's a softball field, soccer field, baseball field, and a football field for practice purposes only. And what the school corporation would like to do is enclose that area with a fence. The fence being the 6-foot-high chain link fence with black cladding on it. So it's not a typical chain link fence. The along the west side of the parking lot is a specialized 6-foot Trek seclusions fence because the ordinance states that it must be opaque and not be able to be seen from the residential neighbors who live to the west of this property. In addition to that, there will be a new chain link black clad fence placed from roughly the middle of the athletic fields all the way across the entire property to the baseball field, the existing baseball field, all the way on the east side or right side of the page. That fence is going to be in the middle of a 10-foot wide sidewalk. The purpose of that is to be able to control who can and can't come into the soccer matches, baseball matches, and football matches. Whereas right now they don't have a fence. So this is something that the school corporation has wanted to do since 2016. They finally got the money to do it, so that's why we're here. Anyway, on the second page, in the lower left-hand corner, I've outlined in red, that is the area that is the ornamental fence is being proposed. I apologize for the scale of this. It's hard to see where the fences are, but in general, the black clad chain link fence will begin in the lower left-hand corner. It will parallel the existing gravel / asphalt road all the way up to the bend as that you see in the property line. It will then go almost directly across over to the football field. The Trex or opaque fence begins at the bend roughly in the middle of the soccer field and goes north until it gets to the end of the parking lot. That's, again, that is to keep the view from the residences from being able to see, well, actually headlights and things of that nature shining into their face or into their front views. And then on the west, or excuse me, the east side of the athletic fields, all the way at the top, in line with the letter B, that is going to be again a 6-foot chain link clad fence, which will run all the way down to 133rd. It will have 2 main gate openings. One of them is depicted on the drawing as G4, which is behind the high school. And the other one is G15, where we are proposing a tie-in to the existing parking lot along 133rd. Originally, we had proposed an extension of that roadway that was going to tie into 133rd, but that's been negated. Now it turns a 90-degree angle and ties into the parking lot. And once again, the same chain link clad fencing is across the property. If you go to page number 3, what that depicts is a blow up of where the ornamental fencing is going to be. And the reason for the fencing along 133rd to begin with is because this is the detention pond that is to handle all of the storm water from the athletic fields. Your ordinance states that detention ponds must be 1 full right-of-way width away from the right-of-way or away from the back of the sidewalk on 133rd, or have something that blocks it, which in this case would be the ornamental fence. The detention pond is set, beginning of the detention pond is set 5 feet behind the sidewalk, so there's a 5-foot flat area, and then it goes down. This is intended to be a dry detention pond, so it's not going to have water standing in it, except during storms. You go to the next page. This is a drawing that JMA put together. And what it shows is that this is reference to the first page with the AB1, AB2, AB3, 4, and 5 on the left-hand side. What it depicts is the first three from the top down depict the black clad chain link fence and where gates are to be, openings in it. They all of these things are referenced on the first sheet. The bottom two are the along 133rd. That's effectively what the ornamental fence will look like. And you can see the pillars themselves, which the final sheet, and I have highlighted in red what the pillars are to look like. These are to be brick masonry pillars. I'm not exactly positive that every one will have Hanover in it, but some of them will, some of them probably won't. There will be no fence openings along 133rd. With that, I'm open to any questions that you might ask. Mr. Andruski and I will.
For the decorative fence, that 50%, that for the opaque level of that,
Is it 50%?
opaque or open. With it's a measure of how much you can see through it. Is it 50%? Is it 70%? Is it,
The opaque fence?
yes.
I believe it's 100%.
No, I'm sorry. The ornamental. The decorative.
Oh, no, you can see through. You can see it on the front. The front page. Yes.
All right. I was just
Yeah.
asking if you knew if it was 25% opaque, 50% opaque.
I don't think it's opaque at all. It's just ornamental.
Percent.
What we consider 50%.
That's what.
I mean, mathematically, it's probably like 42%.
That's the kind of stuff. that-
Engineering mind, it's probably not that big, but definitely what we would consider 50%.
Any questions? on
So,
that?
yeah, so just to tail into that fence that you're referencing is just gonna be along 133rd.
Yes, that's
The rest of
right.
it's gonna be the chain link.
Yes.
Okay.
And predominantly in section AB and a few feet in section BC. Correct?
Well, actually, I outlined the red further into the BC area, so it's actually all AB.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't extend into BC. Effectively, BC begins at where you currently see as you're going down 133rd, a tree line on the other side of the detention pond that's in the parking lot.
Mhm.
So on the west side of the detention pond, that's where the 6-foot vinyl clad chain link fence will begin, and it will go all the way to the north, all the way up to the end of the parking lot.
Kubiak gave a way of breaking it down. What do you think?
I mean, I'm pretty happy with the proposal. I mean, the nice fence is along 133rd, the other fence is the black chain link. The barrier fence in the back where the residences are, with headlights, just like Don said. All these things are what was asked for, so. I'm good, but I'm glad to see that we're putting that nice fence along 133rd. That does meet that criteria for putting the detention pond up against the sidewalk, which they need to do, so they can utilize as much of the land for practice fields as possible. So, all in all,
So essentially they're here because it's a fence in the front yard on 133rd. The other chain
you know,
link
in
stuff
order to- in
is,
order to put that detention pond where it is, they need to protect it with that. So,
okay.
it is that front setback, though, those couple areas.
So the chain link fence isn't part of the,
Well, it is up to the building line, from the corners back to the building line, it would be, and since there's not a building on this lot, that's why he's discussing what he is, so. Kind of eliminates that grade. There's a building line, but there isn't a building, so.
I do have a colorized version of that Jim had sent to me. It's in my car. I forgot it out there if you want to see it. It's effectively, it's a chain link fence that has black vinyl on it, so it's entirely black. Oh, very good. And just to back up what Mr. Kubiak said, if you know anything about this property, you probably can tell as you're going down the road that the entire thing slopes from the north to the south. It slopes rather dramatically towards 133rd, so that's mainly the reason, besides wanting to maximize the area for the athletic field, that the detention pond is located where it is. It's on the lowest part of the property.
Is that changing fence the same that's on the tennis court? Yeah, but it's the same material.
the same stuff that South Shore put up on, Lake Shore.
On their, the POA, park.
Yeah, you tell me, you asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except that's only 5 foot.
Except it's short. Okay, any other board discussion at this time? I'll ask you gentlemen, you have a brief, seat for a brief moment. Are there any remonstrators for or against this variance? Remonstrators for or against this variance? Ms. Baker, has there been any submitted online?
Sure.
You're hearing none, the public portion of this item is closed. Oh, thank you.
Jeremy,
Yes,
may I?
please.
Is this fencing scheme that is presented, scheduled scheme plan, is it going to prevent or preclude the public from accessing any of the facilities that the public has been accustomed to using? Tennis courts, track, off times of school activities?
More of an operational question, but I wouldn't imagine, because that's practice that's allowed now. It's really the purpose of the fencing is more to control traffic, pedestrian traffic for athletic events. So if you're starting the mission,
Collect. You can collect. Those facilities are presently open to the public generally, off school activity time. Right, off hours.
But we're talking about practice fields. We're talking about the addition of the practice fields and the parking lot, correct?
And the fence, what I think what Mr. Austin's talking about is the fence that goes from across effectively the middle of the property. And everything to the north of that,
East and west.
correct, everything to the north of the sidewalk that's being proposed, those are all the varsity sports fields. All the way to the right is the baseball, then followed by the soccer, then the softball, then the
Oh, we're
football.
putting one in there too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Certainly, there's no pedestrian sidewalk along that north edge.
Right.
So that's part of the project as well, is to connect all of the fields east-west with pedestrian sidewalk. Along that sidewalk is the fencing. And that would allow control of the those two corners.
Mr. Kubiak, do you have anything else, building department?
No, that, I mean, that rear yard fence is exactly that rear yard fence.
is there a fence at the very north end of the property?
There's a little area of fence, I think, by the track.
The soccer field has a fence around it, and then, of course, the softball field is fenced in, and the football field is fenced in, but I don't know that there's a fence that exists on the north.
There
property.
isn't.
There's
There is
nothing on, this is just a farm.
There
field,
is.
basically. There's nothing there. But I think there is a fence all the way from the softball to the end of the football. Not sure.
Anything else? Any other board discussion?
No, sir.
Yeah, sure.
This will be a board decision for developmental variance. Opening up for
I'll make a motion. We approve this developmental variance as presented to include the finding of fact.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Recupero, second by Mr. Capera to grant the developmental variance as requested and to include the findings of facts. Any discussion on the motion? Does understand the motion?
Yes, sir.
Do a roll call.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes?
Doug Stewart,
Yes,
Doug Fundy,
Yes.
Jeremy Piper.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Business item number 2, Hernandez Developmental.
Sorry,
Oh.
Michelle, this last, the handout that they just gave us, is that, do you have a copy of that for the file?
Yes,
Because
sir.
that was not in the file, that was handed out tonight.
Yep. I also have it too, just not with this red line right here. So this is
Oh, okay.
hers.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
New business item number 2, Hernandez Developmental Variance / Special Use Variance. Owner EYM Group, 450 East John Carter Freeway, State 100, Irving, Texas, 75062. The petitioner is Juan Manuel Hernandez at the vicinity of 13300 Lincoln Plaza in Cedar Lake. Developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to add an additional exterior sign and maximum number of parking spaces to B7 for a B1 business. And the special use variance is to operate 2 businesses on a lot in a B1 zoning district. Also,
Legals are in order, public hearing may be conducted.
thank you. And we have petitioner. Go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion that we change these voting boxes so the special uses first? That would probably make sense.
Yeah. Sure.
My name is Juan Manuel Hernandez. I'm with EYM Group. My address 450 East Junco Freeway, Irving, Texas, 75252. EYM is, we are a franchisee of Pizza Hut. So when we developed the Pizza Hut almost 2 years ago, our intention was to occupy the whole space. But then it was too big for us. So we just used pretty much only half of the existing space. And the idea was to have it as a storage. But with the business we have right now, storage is fine within the restaurant. So we have an empty space in the back. So the intention we have is to see if we can lease it for another business instead of having just an empty space with no use at all.
So you don't know what business would go
For
in.
sure, we know that we don't want any other food restaurants, any coffee shops.
Competitor.
So we have a couple of business owners that approach us at the end of last year. One of them was a guy that makes tattoos. So the idea and the type of business we want to approach is more like a business type, like maybe accounting firms or someone with a low use of parking spaces. We want to try to stay away of, like I said, restaurants or that type of things that needs to use a big number of parking spaces. But we don't know which one yet. But we can follow whatever recommendations from businesses you guys have.
I think that's going to be the hard part of this because you're asking for a second business and we don't know if it's going to be what you say is a low,
Right.
Low volume, so to say, business or a accepted business. So I see that being pretty hard to kind of quantify unless you want to just I don't know, hear a list of, I don't know that we need to go through a list of things that we.
Yeah, no,
approve or not,
and next on the list,
and that's kind of not our position to do that.
right.
So I see that being difficult with this petition is quantifying what that space is, if it is, you know, a tattoo and piercing or a smoke shop or something, that might not be appropriate for
Right.
that type of use. I like the idea that, you know, maybe a barber or whatever that you had in there, but I think it would be very difficult to, without having that.
Yeah, and
that
the thing is,
place.
we had a banner to promote space, so we were told that since we don't have a use, we need to remove that. So it was hard for us to see who's gonna be interested if we are not able to promote the space. So
Yeah.
that's why it was also hard to
Yeah.
find one. We're not allowed to let people know that there's a space available, right, for business.
Right.
And that's where we was also hard for us to come up with a.
No, I understand why you're here, and we're happy that you are. I'm just, after reading this and thinking about it, I think it's gonna be very difficult to just kind of say, yeah, you have two businesses without knowing what that
Right.
second business is, and I'll turn it to the building department.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, I mean, when they were doing the Pizza Hut, they were dealing with the amount of parking at that point in time, and they scaled that building down to meet, you know, the number of tables to the number of parking to the, you know, to make that stuff work, which they did end up with, you know, just about only using half of that
Yeah.
building in the hallway to the back. I mean, maybe a little, I don't know exactly, but close. I mean, they signed off when they picked up the permit for the Pizza Hut that they understood that vacant space was to be used for storage, or, you know, that it wasn't, it was kind of unused, but they couldn't really utilize the entire thing for the Pizza Hut either, because the number of tables and the number of utilizing that whole, I don't remember how many square feet it is off the top of my head, but utilizing that whole area for the Pizza Hut kind of put it over the top for parking for what was there for the classes. So they scaled that down to make it fit with parking.
Yeah, and
If you look at the pictures, there's a door around the back of that building to get into the other part. There's stairs going down to the basement. The basement is underneath of that area is still tied to the whole entire building, you know, so it's got some definite challenges for utilizing it for another business. And if it was something really low key, like an accountant or something that people were coming in and out of all the time, but if you look in the evening at the Pizza Hut business, it utilizes that rear part. I think your guys' pizza business is 80% delivery, a lot of activity going on the in and out of that Pizza Hut building. I know Jeff sees the delivery truck dropping off the stuff for the Pizza Hut on the one-way road probably quite often. That's, you know, another challenge. It's like we're in downtown Chicago trying to get to a already, but there's quite a lot going on in that little area with the bank and the parking for the other people in the back of the building. And I mean, I think you said it perfectly, Jeremy. I think that, you know, to come in here with exact what's going to be used with some specific restrictions is one item, but it's the open-ended use is tough. I mean, it really is.
I mean,
hard.
go ahead.
My point is that there's the variance for the number of parking spaces could vary quite a bit based off of the business that's in there and the
Yeah,
number
so
of employees and.
If I know one thing about this board, parking spaces
Mhm.
are a nice topic of discussion, or
And
a valid one.
This
too.
actual building has been here several times prior to the Pizza Hut.
Sure,
for
sure.
Other uses,
Sure.
trying to utilize
Um,
the space for things.
And yeah, to my point earlier, typically we would have this request coupled with,
Right.
hey, it's a barber shop, we know what they're about, we can make an educated decision based on, you know, the volume of customers or employees that would have, foot traffic.
And yeah, it's ideal, but like I said, it was really hard for us to promote the space.
So, I mean, did the town come to you and say you can't promote it because they're not?
Right, because
You
first we
have
needed to go through
approval.
the process to see if it was gonna be even an option, right?
That's in fact not correct, sir. You can put a for lease sign out front, put your phone number and attract somebody. And when you find somebody, then you come back here.
Oh,
To me, that's
we
a lot,
even,
yeah.
we even received a letter, but, and then I forgot to bring it.
From the town?
Yes,
Well, we told them that they couldn't utilize it for a business without variance.
Well, of course they
Oh,
can, but they can
we can
market
promote
to
it.
prospective end users or their tenants.
yeah, because that's what we were trying to see who was gonna be interested, right?
I mean, I think we got a little cart before the horse situation here. I'm not aware of anything that we can advertise to the counselor's point. But if somebody's interested and you can lease it to them contingent on, BCA approval, that's the appropriate timeline.
Okay.
How big of a space are we talking?
1,433.
14, yeah.
For a second business?
Yeah.
1,433.
Pretty good sized leasehold.
Yeah, and the parking spots aren't that far off from what's required, depending on what goes in there, of course.
Well, as said, I was always under the assumption that everything on, what's that, Broadway? The street?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lincoln
that all
Park.
those are for anybody. It's not designated for each individual business.
They are and they aren't.
Well, some of them are legal non-conforming. The King Medical Building is now the subject of a redo. Every piece of property there is just unique and different, have different characteristics to them. This building has an occupancy. It's being used as a Pizza Hut restaurant.
Right.
They couldn't use it all. They're trying to squeeze another use out of their approved property.
And this parking would be in the back, right? Because that's where they're gonna
Correct.
access it, is the back. It's gonna all be through the back of
Yeah.
in that back parking lot.
I guess they could be alike if you took Dr. McDermott's building and he needed only the front half and you decided to do the same thing this gentleman's doing, then we'd have the same situation, John.
The other question is, that whole basement, I mean, that's a large basement. You're not gonna try to put a business down.
Oh,
there.
no. That's actually more storage for us.
Okay,
That's probably
now,
why you don't need that. space.
Yeah.
now there's another question too. Whatever business you go in there, to my knowledge, there's just 2 bathrooms in there. Is that correct?
I believe there's yeah.
2.
Mhm.
Right, which are utilized by the Pizza Hut now.
No, we only came back with, let me think.
There's still bathrooms in there.
Yeah,
There's 2.
And we-
They put in 2 new bathrooms.
Uh-huh.
Oh, they put 2
yeah, we
more
put
in.
2 for us and there's 2 existing ones on the.
Okay,
on the back.
because I know when the church was there, it was just
Those 2 are still
there.
The Pizza Hut is completely.
Yeah.
Used to be Pete's House's plumbing,
Used to be a township trustee's office.
and it was a certified at one time.
It was a clothing store one time.
Nick Shaker,
And now it's a Pizza Hut with 4 bathrooms.
All right, we'll keep moving along on
No
this.
waiting.
You take the seat for a brief moment, please. Are there any remonstrators for or against this variance? Any remonstrators for or against this variance? Ms. Baker, has there any been submitted online?
No, sir.
Seeing or hearing none, public portion of this item is closed. Come back up.
Nobody outside either.
I would be
Oh,
nice.
yeah,
to
we
have
haven't been-
it.
we haven't been checking, have we?
Well, in my opinion, and I would like you guys' thoughts on it too. In my opinion, I think this should be withdrawn, just because the nature of the business would be, it should be in another variance or special variance request that would need to be properly advertised. I think that's important for this use to be advertised. Whatever might go in. So instead of just deferring it to see if you get something in a month, in my opinion, I think it should be withdrawn just so that the proper advertisement for whatever use that you're requesting could be advertised. So anybody can have a chance to hear or see it and come and
Okay,
tell
yeah,
us that it's good or a bad idea.
okay.
That's my thought on
No, I'm with you 100%. I don't feel comfortable at all putting my name on this if we don't have a business to that, business plan to that. So I 100% agree.
I agree.
I agree.
And when it
But I
comes to
don't-
the- If it comes to the town council, one of the main problems we had with that area is parking. And I will have a concern over that.
Do you understand in what we're saying
Yep.
here? I guess it's up to you on whether you do want to go ahead and withdraw. You just gotta ask us. And then, I think from so far as I'm aware, advertise, whoever approaches you. I mean, you can filter whoever comes
Yes.
and you kind of understand what our concerns are. You come to us and say, this is the business, we'd like to see a business plan for that business.
Okay.
A parking plan, with your 7 spaces, hours of operation, the things you would normally have with the business plan. And then we could properly advertise it, we can see all the facts and then,
So are there any restrictions as far as for the advertising of the space?
signage.
Yeah, for like.
There are town ordinances
Okay.
that
I think
spell
what you
out.
had up there.
It was
is
fine?
It's
Okay.
just- I think that the reality is that, I guess the realization we wanted to, understand is that could not be released out until you have approval.
Right. Okay.
So consider that when you filter through whoever
Oh, yeah,
approaches you,
for sure.
taking in what you've heard from us, and then
Mhm.
hopefully that if it works for the space and the board approves it, then you're.
Okay, no.
And probably also advise, a possible or probable tenant that this process will take probably 2 months.
Okay. That's good to know.
I mean, it's
Right,
just,
so they know what it's gonna take.
they
Yeah,
just,
so once you get it, you have to advertise and get on the
Mhm.
next month, and then assuming you've learned from this
Right.
process, you're here and ready to go with
Mhm.
all the information
Yeah.
we need, and that we don't have to ask for another month to get it, so.
That makes sense.
Did I hear that you asked for a withdrawal on this item?
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to do act.
Acknowledge it for your record.
Okay, please let the record show that the petitioner requested to withdraw this item from the agenda. Such a time.
without pain or duress.
And that would be inclusive of the 2 items.
Both the development and special use variance, correct?
Correct.
You just got a dry run, you're good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. Hey, is there any public comments?
Rich, anything?
Sat here all day. Nothing?
He's practicing.
I have a question.
Yes.
For a building department, where are we at on the porter storage? Where's that making its way throughout the town? As far as, council, planning commission or?
Yeah, it's in the plan commission and
Shall,
they've got to come up with some plans and.
Borders,
Bill's working on that.
Pardon?
where's Jill?
Vacation.
So you guys have heard it since we have, John?
Yeah, they've been before us, but there's questions on the road that goes along the side of it, and the bus stop where the kids are picked up, and drainage, and they've got some questions.
They were working forward with the one lot subdivision and also the site plan, so. Actually, they're charging the plan, she's the planner now, so. Office.
Okay.
Is the ambulance gone?
There's a,
No, there's a new one.
I would say, probably 50% of the ambulances are gone. There still are several. A brand new one. I don't think.
Because they have to get rid of the ambulance.
Yeah. That's what kind of made me think about it. I seen them driving by.
Yeah, that one that they kind of drug up there to the front, it's been there for, and I don't know if that one looks fairly new. I don't know if it's. They didn't have much of anything that was any good there, so I think that ambulance maybe looked cool on the outside. But I don't think
That they can't do it until those are all removed, right?
they can't get any action until all that. Unless they're quarter from their paying for it.
Yeah.
I don't know about all of them, because I haven't gone there.
How many you got?
Quite a few. Yeah, I think we brought in.
So United Line of Business Center?
That's why Rich comes to the meeting, to make
Yeah.
sure that the buses keep coming.
Any other public comment? Is it- are you satisfied?
Yeah, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Bungie, a second by Mr. Kapira. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned 2021.